Welcome to the Peering Podcast, where the best way to see the future is to peer into it together. It's smart talk with a twinkle in its eye, about peer power, leadership agility, and collective intelligence in a world spinning faster every day. Hosted by Mike Richardson and friends, we peer into what it really takes to stay human, stay curious, and stay future ready. Real conversation, where peers get curious, curiosity gets peery, and leadership gets real. So pull up a chair and let's peer into it together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first proper episode of the Peering Podcast. I'm delighted to have a special guest today, Ron Harrell. We're going to delve into and peer into the complexities of business leadership and in particular operations leadership. I'm so looking forward to that. We've known each other for a while. We'll introduce Ron in a moment. But we've shared and compared notes about the fact that, you know, as an operations leader, as a business leader of an operationally intensive business, it's kind of like being masters of chaos. How do you somehow get the trains to run on time in organized chaos, not disorganized chaos? So that's what we're here to peer into today, everybody. Ron Harrell is a phenomenal business leader. He's an experienced operations leader and CEO leader his whole career. Not least of all now, he is an EOS implementer. He'll tell us more about that for sure. And also, he is becoming a peer forum leader, specifically for a peer forum for operations leaders. So I'm excited to delve into all of that today. Ron, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. This is great.
Yeah. You and I go way back, Ron. I was trying to figure it out. I don't know, at least maybe 15, maybe 20 years. Do you want to tell everybody how we first met?
Yeah, I have somewhere in that range. Brought you into a company called My Office when we were scaling the business to get a handle on the strategic planning and execution part of the business. So it's a crazy time. There's a lot going on at that time. And
tell us a little bit more, because you still have that business, right? My Office?
Yeah. It's gone through a lot of changes throughout the years.
Yeah.
So I think at the time when we were working together, probably had close to 200 employees. Today, I have 7. So it's great. It's way easier to operate by outsourcing a majority of the staff that we need out in the field. So the business model has changed from a services-oriented company to a product-oriented company. And
tell us a bit more. What does, in its current form today, what does My Office do?
So My Office helps companies create great space. So if you are moving your office, we come in and we do design, furniture sales, project management, and installation work of that furniture, as well as the structured cabling part of the installation and audio bit and AV component as well.
Yeah. And I remember back when we were starting working together, especially when you had all of those employees, we used to laugh about the fact that those kinds of projects that you do for your clients, those are just chaos waiting to happen if you are not on top of all the details and all the dynamics and all the logistics of, getting out of that building over there and getting into that building over there, that may be a mile away or maybe 100 miles away, or maybe even the other side of the country. So tell us a bit more. So now you've got 7 employees. As you know, I think, Ron, I do this other podcast with some other colleagues around artificial intelligence. And of course, as part of that, there's this concept that we'll start to see more and more solo unicorns, large entrepreneurial businesses. Everybody, the definition of a unicorn is something that's worth more than $1 billion, run by, at the extreme, one person or maybe a handful of people plus AI. So you're running My Office now with a handful of people. Tell us a bit more about how you do that.
Yeah, for years, up until actually June of this year, we would self-perform all of these labor services. So the operational expense included a big warehouse, a bunch of trucks, a bunch of technical skill set staff, and there's a lot of companies out there that have those people on staff, and just switching the model to be able to sell product first and hire those folks to subcontract and install it. So getting rid of the warehouse, the trucks, the guys, it was a hard decision. It turns out to be a great decision. We're doing the same volume at a higher margin with less overhead. So imagine that. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's one hat that you wear. You wear multiple hats. So let's talk about the second big hat that you wear. You are an EOS implementer. Tell us what that is and how did you get into that line of work?
So EOS is based on a book, Traction, created by Gino Wickman. It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Yep.
And it's really an execution system to put in the business. I like to say every company has a way that they execute. There's a system in place. It's either intentional or non-intentional. At my office, we had a very good non-intentional system. And the problem with that, it's hard to get everybody on the same page. So we grew the business, and my partner, Sean, who you know, grew it, I think, from $5 million to $20 million in revenue in about 2.5, 3 years. And Sean and I are both, primarily visionary personalities, I like to call it, which means we're a little bit crazy and shiny object. And I was always stuck in that integrator seat. In the EOS language, we call that. And that's the person that's running the day-to-day operations, the leadership, manage and hold the leadership team accountable. Yeah. And that company blew up. We scaled it too fast without the infrastructure, without really somebody great in the operation seat. So I'm really good in that seat, but I was never going to be great. And that's because I learned over time, I don't like to manage people. I'm just not, it's not a passion. And I can do it. It just takes a lot of work to do it. So after the company blew up and Sean left the business, I had to do a turnaround and successfully got through all of that. And things are going really well. And I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, I'm just not enjoying what I'm doing, because it seems like that everything that is going to be moving, that was moving forward in the business, it was coming from me. And I had to pull my team along. And if I took my eye off the ball, things would just kind of fall apart. And I went to an EOS seminar about the difference. Originally I had my name in the CEO box on the org chart. And in the EOS, we do what we'll call an accountability chart exercise. It's like, really, what are you doing every day? And what seats do you sit in and what do you own? I discovered I'm really sitting in 9 different seats on that accountability chart.
9? And what do you do after lunch?
Doing about 200 things every week. There's no way, there's no surprise why I was stressed out, not enjoying it, felt like it was all on my shoulders. Yeah. So EOS is a tool to go in and create a system and a language that the entire company gets engaged with. So really build out the leadership team, truly understand what people are accountable for, elevate and delegate to the highest best use of what your time and treasure, which for me was the Visionary-Integrator seat at the time, and let people do a great job. And when we are able to share where we're going, how we're going to get there, what their role is in it, create the systems for the metrics for the scorecards and the right systems in place, get people trained on that, let them go. They surprised the heck out of me and did some amazing things, and I could let go of the vine. So I felt like I wasn't enjoying what I was doing, put EOS to work, and about 1.5 years into self-implementation of EOS, I realized I wanted to go out and teach this because it was having a major impact. And about 6 months later, I was able to quit working at my office. Leadership team took it over. I spent about 40 to 50 hours a year in that business. Yeah. And I spent about 85% of my time helping other entrepreneurs get unstuck from their business. The things I see, people are not making enough money. They're stressed out, tired of dealing with people issues. Can't seem to break through that ceiling of complexity. And the system helps people do that.
Yeah, really cool. Let's join up some dots right there. So Ron knows this, everybody. I published a book back in 2011. And, it takes a couple of years to finish off a book and get into the publishing process. And so I was in the process of trying to decide upon a title and a subtitle for the book. And I have been speaking about traction and traction planning for years and years and years. So I think about the word traction and I start Googling and I discover, hang on a minute, who's this guy called Gino Wickman who's already published a book called Traction? And I think the subtitle is something like How to Get a Grip on Your Business or something like that.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, oh, okay. And I read a bit about him, and his story, I suppose, is similar to yours in that he, by the sound of it, you know it so much better than I do, he cracked the code for himself in the business he ran, and then decided to sort of codify that and publish it into a book. So anyway, I wanted to publish my book. So I decided to go to the dark side. And rather than call my book Traction, I called it Wheel Spin. And the question I asked in the book is why, despite all of our investments in strategic planning and business process re-engineering and execution and leadership development and all that kind of stuff, why is it that we still experience a lot more wheel spin? We're not getting as much traction as we should. And as you know, of course, the answer is agility, or rather a lack of agility. My book sold a few copies. Gino Wickman's Traction book sold goodness knows how many copies.
Millions now.
And it went really big, didn't it? And it really has become kind of one of, there are others, but it really has become one of possibly the leading system to get organized and master chaos, everything from strategy and execution and leadership for entrepreneurial small to medium-sized businesses. Correct, Ron? It's become one of the standards, correct? Yeah,
it is. I tell you, one of the things that Gino got right that just clicked is that Visionary-Integrator seat.
Yeah.
Because I heard CEO, COO, CMO, CFO, right? And it seemed like that was a great structure for a large company. But when you have an entrepreneur company and you put your name in the president seat or CEO seat, then you start putting people, there's really two seats there.
Yeah.
And the problem mostly, and I sat in a lot of peer-to-peer meetings where they said, the most of the problem is the guy at the top or person at the top, and can't get out of our way. And it's so true. And it's because we are a visionary person, or often there's a visionary personality stuck in the integrator seat.
Right.
Which we also call COO seat, operationally focused. And that was
chief of staff, VP of operations,
general manager, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. So that just gave me an aha moment. I mean, you were trying to teach me a lot of the stuff that was in the book back when we met, and some of it clicked and some of it didn't. Yeah. So, I think Gino came up with a couple things that were unique in that. In the book.
I love that distinction, everybody, that Ron is speaking to. It's one of the biggest ahas that I think he touched upon in the original book, Traction, and then really went deep on it in the next book, which was that called Rocket Fuel or something like that?
Yep.
And it's this concept, everybody, that, at the top of a business, for a business that's really getting traction on a good trajectory and scaling well, you've got to have this complementary combination of a visionary who's your classic entrepreneur, phenomenal at relationship building and biz dev and all of that, but needs to be complemented by what's called an integrator. And I love the use of that term, Ron, because it picks up the idea of systems integration, everybody. Do we have an integrated system with all the platforms and processes and software and systems that we need to become a well-oiled machine? And as we scale, things don't break back down into chaos again, where we're just hanging on by our fingertips. So I really love that distinction.
Yeah, and the challenge, and I went through this for years, when we try to do that and we don't do it with the right foundation or a way to teach it to everybody else to create clarity, it doesn't work. And then we go back into what I call the command and control stage, where we have to take things over and fix it ourselves. And that's just over time, it just wears you down. It burns you out.
Because when that's happening, what we don't realize, everybody, is we are also becoming a bottleneck. We are also becoming a glass ceiling on the future growth of that business, because there's only one way to grow, everybody, and that is to scale the system, is to scale the culture, is to scale the empowerment of the team, and to get all that energy and traction coming bottom up, as it were, through the business. I can't remember if we've spoken about this much, Ron, but I went back and ran a global company again for 3 years, where I went in as the global president to complement the founding entrepreneur. The business was already in its 20th or even 25th year. It scaled enormously. It was global, and they really needed that integrator type of person to sort of lift the lid on the next phase of scalability globally. And so I ran into this opportunity, and I decided to go in as that. And they revealed me at one of the annual conferences, and I made a keynote speech. And one of the ways I expressed it was I said to the audience, there were 1,000 people in the room because it was a big, global system. I said to the audience, I said, what we want of the founder, who's brilliant, he's a genius. We want the founder to be able to focus on anything with anybody at any time, because he's really, really, really good at it. And what he needs to know is that I'm in the other seat, focused on everything with everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Because we've got to be bringing the whole system along for the journey and along for the ride. And so that's really, at least my definition of an integrator role, right? We're focused on everything with everybody all the time and making sure that it's clicking. Does that resonate with you, Ron?
Yeah, no question, Mike. And I describe that as, I want to take the noise away from the visionary seat personality, the person that's sitting in that. And the noise, what I'm referring to, is all the worry and stress that everything's going to go to crap if I don't keep my eye on it. I would imagine you saw this when you did that for that person, how much energy gets transformed back into the business, because that entrepreneurial person is generally the chief energizer person.
Yeah.
Right. And they have time to go and be creative, build big relationships, and really be the culture champion, and enthusiasm starts really, it's like, what am I saying? It's contagious. Yeah.
And let's just join up a couple of other dots. So little shout out here to Sean Alger, indeed, your previous partner in my office. Sean is also one of our forum leaders of peer groups in REF. He co-leads a sales leadership forum with me, another of our forums that specializes in one of the functional areas of, in this case, sales leadership. And so now, Ron, the next hat that you're about to wear is you're becoming a forum leader of a peer forum specifically for operations leaders to help them grapple with some of these aspects and dimensions and challenges that we've begun to articulate. What's the why, Ron? What's the why behind wanting to get into this field of running a peer forum for operations leaders? You know peer forums well because you've been part of EO for many, many, many years. But tell us more, Ron, about what's brought you to this moment of why you want to now launch this operations leadership peer forum with us.
So let's start with the peer-to-peer group experience. 30 years. And I was
Is
in
it
another
really 30 years. Wow.
30 years in EO. I think I'm number 6 in the world or something like that at the time. And then another group for about 12 years. And the impact it's had on my world, and still has today, is it just one of the smartest decisions I've ever made. And part of that is not only having a group of people who are in a similar situation as me, who get what I'm going to say, but they want to hear what I'm going to say. They care about me. They learn from whatever I share. And we realize when we're in a room with other peers like that, we're not alone. The stuff I'm dealing with really isn't that different than what you're dealing with. It's a different industry. There's nuances to it, but it comes down to a handful of the same crap or opportunity. I shouldn't even say crap. It's the opportunity to get this stuff fixed,
It's okay.
right?
We're amongst friends here.
Yeah. So I love still today being able to know every month I'm going to sit down. I'm going to kind of take stock of where I'm at, but not only just in my business, but personally and family oriented as well. So that we're thinking about this stuff. I'm thinking about this stuff once a month, and I know I'm going to go and share in an environment that's open, honest, vulnerable, trust-based, that's 100% confidential to talk about this stuff. Because in most people's lives, there's nowhere else to do that. There's nobody else that can do that. Now, they may have a mentor, and that's a great thing. And that might be a place, but short of being in a peer-to-peer group, it's hard to find.
Yeah, confidential, everybody, and no competitors, of course. Therefore, as much diversity as we can get across, different industries, different kinds of businesses. We want everything from high tech to low tech, local, global, old economy, new economy, manufacturing, software, services, global supply chain, you name it, we want it. Of course, age, gender, ethnicity, tenure, personality type. The more diversity, the better, because that's where the power of peers and collective intelligence comes from. Correct, Ron?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then we look at why operations, why REF. I don't know if you know this. I did a 15-year deep dive in human behavior, personal development work. And through that practice, learned that I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship, and I'm also passionate about helping people learn to grow, to be happy and healthy. So those two things, when I'm doing my EOS work, and also when I'm in a peer-to-peer group and facilitating that kind of work, that feeds those two things I'm super passionate about. So
I'm not sure I did know that. You did 15 years of deep dive into. Tell us more about
master's program in spiritual psychology, which is human behavior, psychology, Eastern philosophy kind of mixed together.
Wow.
And then another 10 years of kind of deep dive work and a bunch of other stuff. And
wow. You're a man of many talents and many experiences, Ron. And anybody that gets lucky enough to be in Ron's forum is number one, is going to be blessed to be together with their peers. That's where the power comes from, everybody, is the power of the peers in the room, 12, 15, 18 people. And when you have a catalyst like Ron as the forum leader, lighting a fire and creating the conditions for the magic to happen with such a diverse perspective of his own as a CEO, as an operations leader, as a deep thinker around leadership and human, kinds of things that he was just talking about, that becomes a very powerful equation. So, yeah, you're looking forward to taking this on, Ron, as part of the next chapter of your career?
Yeah, I love being able to have an impact and to be able to help people learn and grow. And that operations part of the business, it's a hard seat. And the reason I know it so well is because I was a visionary personality that got stuck in that seat. Now, when I say got stuck, I chose to get stuck in that seat because here's was the trap for me. I was good at it, but I was never going to be great, because one of the biggest jobs of that seat is how to become a great leader and manager. Although I can manage people well, I don't enjoy it. So I just didn't do it fully. So that seat, you've got to manage energy coming down from the owner, visionary, board of directors, whoever that is. And you got all that stuff coming up at you, and learning how to manage that relationship up and down and create a great team of managers underneath you that can help you execute on the business plan is a hard job.
That's why, everybody, I'm so excited about us adding this next forum into our portfolio of forums that we have in REF San Diego. We already have, I think it's 8 different forums already. And this is going to be the 9th And this kind of completes the full house because we've already got these specialty forums for HR leaders, for technology leaders, for sales leaders, for financial leaders. And now we're about to have one for operations leaders. And you know this already, Ron, but this kind of is my career path as well. I started out, working as a petroleum engineer on offshore oil and gas drilling rigs. I was on the ground floor of operations leadership, helicopter out, helicopter back, week on, week off. When you're on 24/7. And, doing really heavy engineering and in rough seas and bad weather and
dangerous environment. Yeah.
With a very limited real estate of an offshore drilling rig and supply boats and all of that kind of stuff. So, I realized how informative that was when I then pivoted into the sort of general management track. It's where I really learned how to be an operations leader and how to have the agility required and all of those good things. And so that served me really well as I climbed the ladder in business and ended up becoming a CEO and then a divisional CEO. And, I distinctly recall the times when I was running business units as a CEO where I had a strong COO, general manager, chief of staff, VP of operations, whatever they were called. If I had a strong one who could be that integrator, then it enabled me to do what I needed to do, which was to be out and about, developing relationships, opening doors, closing deals, and all that kind of stuff. If I didn't have a strong integrator, then I couldn't help but be more sucked into, just trying to keep things ticking over from day to day to day. And invariably that meant, I was working in the business a lot more and working on it a lot less. And that's just not a good equation for sustained success these days, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah. And you learn a ton from that experience, right? You probably don't know this as well. I started my career I opened 6 restaurants for a group of investors. And my job was to go open the restaurant, hire the staff, launch the restaurant, get the manager in place, and then go do the next one. Invaluable lesson in operations and execution and controls and financial statements and recognizing good people, great people, and knowing over time I had to learn what to do if they're not. And because I was on to the next project and I didn't have time to go back and take over the last one. So same experience that when you get it right, it's life-changing. So we need that in the business so that operations, the peer-to-peer group for the operations folks, I'm super hopeful that they get to learn and grow and have a huge impact on helping companies run at the pace they want to run and get the things done they want to do.
One of my favorite ways to sort of articulate this, everybody, is, when we're looking for key talent, we're looking for pivotal roles, we might often think, well, we need a round peg in a round hole, right? We're looking for a well-rounded person that can, be that, fill that hole that we need. I actually like to say, no, actually what we need is a square peg in a square hole, because whether it's a sales function or HR function, or in this case in particular, an operations leadership function, yes, inside that squareness, we need that rounded person, of course. But in addition, we need these sharp corner pieces. We need these acute angles and corner pieces to this person's presence, to their personality, to their mindset. Because if you put a round peg in a square hole, you're missing those sharp corner pieces and you don't quite get that cutting edge that you need. We need this acute strategic orientation. We need this acute people orientation. We need an acute goal orientation and an acute mindset orientation. And all of those things come together and they can really add up to someone that can really fill that that whole fully. And I remember someone else speaking about this, Ron, and they were saying, it's kind of hard to fully describe a high-performing integrator, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah, and you know it when it's the opposite. You know very quickly It's not right. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, and it's really, can I stop if they report to me? Can I stop having to think about all this stuff? I've had multiple business owners come to me and say, I've got an integrator. They're compensated at this level. And I just feel like I have to go back and pull them along and pay attention to all this stuff. What should I do? I go, you got to get rid of them. They're the wrong person. It's not going to, you can't fix it. Not that they're not nice people and they're great at, and maybe in a role somewhere doing something, but just not that seat for that person.
Yeah, everybody. So we're launching this Operations Leadership Forum. We actually had an orientation meeting with a fantastic speaker a couple of weeks ago around AI, because of course, operations will be a key area in which we might get the earliest AI benefits, at least in the back office part of operations, and who knows, in some front office parts as well. We had a room full of people, didn't we, Ron, who were there? I think 20-something people. Yeah. Many of whom have subsequently raised their hand to join the forum when we kick it off in January next year, 2026. And then thereafter, everybody will be building it to sort of 15, plus or minus 15 people. Again, very diverse across industries and businesses and all kinds of other dimensions of diversity. And it'll all be about the facilitated process that we do in REF. We have 3 components to our meetings. We have the speaker component. We have the roundtable sort of sharing and leadership development component. And then we have the third and most important component, which is the case, where members bring real-time issues, challenges, problems, opportunities into the group. And we facilitate a particular methodology and a particular flow with which we process the case as a group for, potentially a whole hour. And we really, really tear it apart, really understand the problem, and then give suggestions and ideas and inputs and stories and experiences. It becomes a very powerful proposition. And we're really excited, Ron, about having a container for operations leaders to be in, where they can really tackle some of these, very complex, very nuanced, very multi-dimensional challenges of being that square peg in that square hole.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm very excited about getting this thing launched. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody, if you're listening to this and that sounds like, something intriguing, something that you're curious about, something that you might be interested in being a part of, then, give us a call, as it were. We'd love to hear from you and we'd love to explore that. Ron, you've been in and around peer forums, peer groups, did you say for 30 years?
Yeah.
So you beat me. I've been doing this for 23 years, everybody.
I started when I was 10, Mike.
Amongst many other things that we both do, it is probably the most rewarding and enriching and fulfilling lane of my career, certainly for the last 23 years of my career and my life. I wish I'd known about it for the prior 20 years before that, was that when I was in the corporate world, because I'd never heard of the concept of a peer group, a peer forum, or sometimes called a peer advisory board. You obviously did, 30 years ago, Ron, but I certainly didn't. Back then and even today, right, it's still somewhat of a well-kept secret, isn't it?
It's crazy. I'll talk to business owners and I'm like, have you heard of the different peer groups? And they're like, no, what is that? And I'm just blown away that you've been running a business for 15 years in this market and you haven't heard of any of this stuff. Yeah. Like, wow. Yeah. Shocking.
So we often get asked, everybody, what is a peer group? And, we'll be asked, is it coaching? And we'll say, no, not really. Well, is it training then? No, not really. Well, is it, consulting then? Is it listening to speakers? Is it networking? We'll say, no, not really. And when people ask me those questions, every time I give them an answer, I start drawing a Venn diagram of all of those circles. It's not really that, it's not really that, it's not really that, it's not really that, it's not really that. And so this Venn diagram has emerged, on paper in front of us. And somewhat, with a little bit of exasperation towards the end, that person may say, well, then what is it?
Yeah.
And I'll point at the middle of that Venn diagram, and I'll say, well, it's likely a category of leadership development you've never experienced before. It's right here in the middle, and it's called a peer forum, a peer group, a peer advisory board, which has aspects of all these other things. It has aspects of coaching, it has aspects of training, it has aspects of networking and listening to speakers and consulting and all of that kind of stuff, because the peer members become consultants to each other in many ways. Yeah. But it's a unique assemblage of those things, probably unlike anything else you've experienced before, everybody. And what I always ask people, some people will say, well, I'm part of this peer community over here, I'm part of this peer thing over there, I'm part of this other thing over here. And I'll typically ask them, great, I'm glad you are. Don't stop doing that. The question is, what happens there? And if you're not doing case issue processing, I would say to people, then it's not a true peer forum. Don't stop doing it. If you find it valuable, don't stop doing it. But my definition, everybody, of a true peer forum, underline the T of true, is that it gets down to the depths, gets down almost, if you like, Ron, to the bottom of the iceberg, as we say, and it gets down to those deep-seated mindsets, beliefs, behaviors, and really starts to unlock those such that someone can take their game to an all other level. You're looking forward to sort of facilitating that process, Ron?
Oh, it's good. It's going to be great. I learn a ton just by sitting in the room with these folks. So, it's blessed to be able to have an impact on people's world and learn and just hang out with some great people at the same time. Yeah. So I'm super excited about it.
So there we have it, everybody. I'm so excited about this Operations Leadership Forum that we're launching. I'm so excited that we're blessed to have Ron Harrell, who's becoming the forum leader, with a little help from me as the ref partner in town that's taking a deep interest in this, partly because of the passion that you've heard me expressing here for it. I think it's going to be a very profound, it's going to be a very practical, it's going to be a very powerful experience, because as you can tell from Ron's career path, from Ron's experiences, from Ron's deep inquiry into leadership and all the human stuff that he talked about, he's just going to be a great catalyst. He's going to light a big fire, and it's going to be a very powerful and rewarding and valuable experience that typically our members stay for a long time because they find it so invaluable and so irreplaceable, unlike anything else that they experience in their lives. Final thoughts, Ron, and then we'll land this plane. What else do you want to leave everybody with?
Just share that I'm thankful for the opportunity, Mike. I'm really passionate about the stuff as well, and excited to get the group launched, and appreciate the opportunity and the opportunity to talk more about it.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
We could talk all day here, everybody, and maybe we'll get Ron back, once this thing is up and running, and we'll check in with it. But there we are, everybody. Our first episode of the Peering Podcast recorded, and we've been peering into the complexities of being an operations leader. the chaos that can ensue when you get it wrong, and the mastery of chaos that can ensue when you get it right. We look forward to having you back at future episodes of the Peering Podcast, everybody. Thanks for being here. And most importantly, thanks to you, Ron, for being a great guest and sharing your story. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks again. Goodbye.
That's it for this episode of the Peering Podcast, where we believe the best way to see the future is to peer into it together. If today sparked something for you, share it with your peers. And keep the conversation going at peeringpodcast.com, because leadership gets clearer and the future gets brighter when we peer together. Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep peering in.